snaps it anyway. Greer lobs it in the air. Oh, what a catch, Gary Jennings! Touchdown, West Virginia! Is his foot down? Absolutely.
Welcome to the West Coast WVU podcast, brought to you by the 224 Podcast Network. My name is James Brooks. I'm your host. Thanks for joining me on today's episode. It's been a couple weeks since my last episode. My last episode, we had Will Orr on, and we got to chat a little bit about just West Virginia football, his fandom, things like that, which was super fun. We previewed the BYU game at that point, which we went into that game as heavy underdogs. We ended up losing that game 38-24. You know, after that game, I felt semi-optimistic. Not that we would even win a lot of games this season, the remainder of the season, but we played Khalil Wilkins a good amount and Scotty Fox, and both looked pretty good. And then after BYU, there was a bye, so we didn't really have much to talk about after the bye or during the bye week. And then last weekend, we went down to Orlando and played UCF and got absolutely just smacked 45-13. And I think we're pretty much at like an all-time low for West Virginia football right now. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I don't really have a lot of words. I mean, I think what we've said this season where there just can't be a lot of expectations. And I know a lot of that is kind of going back on how we thought the season was going to go. And I talked about this a little bit with Will also, was like coming into the season optimistically, I thought, yeah, we can win 6 games. Like 6 games should be like a doable thing to do. And it's hard with the Big 12 because the Big 12 is so like almost random is like the best word I can think of for the Big 12. But like the Big 12, you just don't like going into the season. I feel like you never know who's going to be a good team. And to argue, I don't know if you can argue that like UCF is a good team. They beat us 45-13. They're 4-3 on the season. They have wins against Cincinnati, North Carolina, Jacksonville State, and North Carolina A&T. So they don't have the best wins, I think. And the thing with them that's tough, where you kind of think about what's our barometer. And UCF was a team similar to West Virginia where they had a lot of new transfers. They have a new head coach. And so coming into the game, I thought maybe we would be pretty even. Turns out not the case. And I think Khalil Wilkins got hurt in the game. So as of 3 days ago, the injury has not been disclosed. But Rich Rod did reveal during his radio show on Monday that his status for this week's game against TCU is he revealed the status. All of a sudden, Khalil Wilkins is questionable at quarterback because he got hurt in that game. Fred Perry is questionable. He got hurt in that game. There might be a couple others. So chances are he doesn't play this week. So this next game, we're going up against TCU at home. It's a homecoming game. It's going to be the Coal Rush game with the black uniforms. So something to look forward to there. I mean, at this point, all we've had to look forward to this season have been uniforms. We had the nice throwbacks against Utah earlier where we got blown out. And pretty much we've had 2 close games. We've had a close game against Ohio that we lost, close game against Pitt that we won, and the other games have all been blowouts. We got blown out by Kansas, Utah, BYU, UCF, and then TCU. We come into this game as, let's see, what's the spread? It opened as 14.5 point. We're 14.5 point underdogs. I think it's up to 15.5 points now. So ESPN predictor gives us 18.3% chance to win, which I feel like is saying something. But at this point, I just don't have any confidence in this team. I don't think there's any chance that. I honestly don't think that we win another game this season. I think we end up, maybe me saying that will be good luck because last time I made a prediction like that, I predicted we were going to lose to Pitt and we came and beat them in overtime. So maybe me predicting that will be a good thing. But we're sitting at 2-5 this season so far, and we play Houston, who is 6-1. Who have they played? They beat Arizona. They beat Oklahoma State. They lost to Texas Tech. They beat Oregon State. They beat Colorado. So like they don't have a great win necessarily either, but they have probably better wins than we have. Well, they have just have more wins than we have, and they're proving they can beat the kind of mediocre teams in the Big 12. And I would say that West Virginia is worse than a mediocre Big 12 team. So that game doesn't bode well for us. Colorado, right now, ESPN has them as 67.2% chance to win that game. They're sitting at 3-4. That's going to be a home game for us. They have they beat Iowa State, who is ranked. That's probably their best win. They only lost to BYU by 3, who is ranked. So Colorado looks pretty decent based on just the scores I'm looking at here. And then we finish off the season against Arizona State, who's ranked, and Texas Tech, who is ranked right now number 14. So I honestly don't know that we win another game this season. The game against Arizona State, I think, is in Arizona, so that's like a tough tough travel game for us there. Last game of the season against Texas Tech, you know, you have a chance to do something fun there and kind of like maybe you're not going to ruin their season because I don't know. Well, I guess it depends on where they're at in the Big 12 standings. Right now in the Big 12 standings, BYU's number 1, Cincinnati's number 2, Arizona State's number 3, and Texas Tech is number 4, actually. Texas Tech is ranked 14th. BYU is ranked 11th right now. So in some ways, like that BYU loss isn't, I mean, it still sucks to lose, but we actually lost to them. That was our best loss. I can't believe I'm saying this stuff. This is our best loss of the Season Bowl. We lost to them 38-24. We only lost by 14 points. We lost all the other teams by like 30 plus points. So we covered the spread against BYU, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I don't know that we win another game this season. And in one sense, I step back and you look at the details of the season, the transfers, Nico getting hurt and him leaving, the injury to Jaheim White, who also I predicted that Jaheim White would probably not come back to West Virginia after his injury, and it sounds like he's committed to coming back based on some tweets and stuff. So that's some positive news there. Our quarterbacks are young, which that is positive for the future. The O line, the offensive line just is not good. And I'm not an expert in offensive line or defensive line football and strategy and schemes and that kind of thing. But I do know that when your quarterback has like 2 seconds to get the ball out before he's sacked, that's a problem. And that seems to be the case. I mean, it's tough. Think about like Khalil Wilkins and Scotty Fox and these guys that are trying to learn the game. They're trying to get used to college football speed and things like that. And they're dealing with defenders in their face the instant they get the ball touches their hands or close to it. Same thing with our running backs. They're trying to read the holes, they're trying to find where to go and things like that. And they are getting met with linebackers and defensive linemen right when they get the ball. So it can be hard to almost even learn the game from that standpoint when the blocking is just not what it should be. And you know, I haven't been a West Virginia fan my entire life, but I would imagine that this is probably one of, if not the worst offensive lines and maybe even teams as a whole that West Virginia has had maybe ever. Maybe that's a big statement, but at least in the last 30 years. And, you know, people say, have been saying like with Rich Rod, his first season was, you know, not great when back in, I think it was 2000. His first season, I think he won 3 games that year and then turned things around. I think people were pretty upset with him, but he turned things around and had one of the best runs as a West Virginia coach ever. So, you know, I think we really have to like take this season, kind of view it in a little bit of a vacuum. I mean, obviously, you build on things from this season. Hopefully, you can retain some guys from this season to build on that and things like that. But I think in some ways, this season's a bit of an anomaly. And you know, I keep going back and asking myself, how did we even beat Pitt? And I haven't really been paying too close attention to how Pitt has been doing the rest of the season. They're 5-2, 3-1 in the ACC, so they've been doing pretty good. I mean, after losing to us, they lost to Louisville, they beat Boston College, They beat Florida State, who was ranked 25th. They beat Syracuse. So like they've put together a decent season. So the fact that we beat them is like, I mean, I'm okay to admit like that's our Super Bowl for the season. Like if we don't make the playoffs, or that's like our bowl game. And that's honestly, I'll take it. Like beating Pitt at home in the last game for the next four, however many years until the series gets back on the schedule. Like I don't know. I think at this point, like you kind of take the wins that you can get. That was a great win. Hopefully you can retain some guys and, kind of build from there and go from there and bring in some recruits and stuff. And it sounds like based on some things that Rich Rod has been saying too, like they misevaluated some guys. They've evaluated things incorrectly. Maybe there's some things coaching wise that they need to fix and stuff. And I think they'll hopefully learn from there. This is a season of building and progress and learning from your mistakes and that kind of thing. And at this point, I'm okay with it. It's unfortunate to go from Neil Brown, who was 6 years of mediocrity. You get a nice season 2 seasons ago with the bowl win against North Carolina. That's kind of like the height of the Neil Brown era, which was like good. I think we beat Pitt that year as well. Like that was a good season. But you look back at the schedule, like we didn't play a whole lot of really great teams and stuff like that. We still never beat a top 25 team during Neil Brown's tenure, things like that. So in that sense, not that great. But then you go from Neil Brown, you get excited for Rich Rod coming back, hard edge, all that kind of stuff. And it's easy coming into the season to ignore the 81 new transfers. Like, oh, they're college football players. Rich Rod's a good coach. He'll figure it out. He'll put guys in the right spot and it'll be fine. I don't think what we anticipated. Also, we've been lucky. We were lucky during the Neil Brown era to have, one of the best offensive lines in the Big 12 and have multiple NFL players drafted out of our offensive line room. And so I think you go from there to then, we weren't really anticipating the offensive line being as bad as it is. And it's just, it's unfortunate. So things to build on. Hopefully we can go from there and we can put some stuff together in the future seasons. But I honestly don't know that we win another game. And it makes it hard to do the podcast. It's like, what do we even talk about? We just are terrible. We suck and we can't win games. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think obviously like we're putting young guys out there. It's fun to at least watch like Khalil Wilkins and Scotty Fox and some of the young guys go out there and see what they can give us and things like that. So Jamori Robinson's another guy who he was really highly touted coming into the season. We were waiting for him to come and play, and he didn't get onto the field until like 5 games into the season, and he's been a bit of a quote unquote bust, so to speak. But at least just based on the hype that he had going into the season. So just overall, it's been a little bit of a disappointing season. But I think that also at the same time, we were excited about Rich Rod, and I think we got a little put the cart before the horse a little bit, got a little ahead of ourselves in understanding what this team could do. And I think part of it also, and that goes back to what Rich Rod was saying also, is like, I think he misevaluated some guys as well. Like he was talking about our quarterback room as if it was like, we have 5 starters in our quarterback room. It's like, okay, all right, like I'll take that. And it turns out, even Nico was having issues. Maybe it was the foot injury, who knows. The rest of the guys, they're, Henderson couldn't do much. Scotty Fox, Khalil Wilkins, they're young. They couldn't do much. Other injuries. So I don't know. I think some of the expectations were a little higher than they probably should have been. But that's okay. We learn, we go from it, and we'll continue to support the team and hope they can get some wins and string on something and show some positivity. But in terms of getting wins, I think we need to look forward to basketball season. Anyways, that's all I got for you. Thanks for listening. Go Mountaineers. Hey, you made it to the end. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating and share it with your friends. And as always, go Mountaineers.